I hated his mic skills. I didn't think his mic skills were that good at all. I think he just got on there and acted blabbered like a dummy. What's up, guys? Iron Michael Chandler here, and I'm excited to break down the UFC lightweight division. Yes, I don't know a ton about Thiago Moises. I know he went out there and submitted Michael Johnson very quick with a heel hook, so that would show that he's got, you know, a dangerous ground game, and not just a dangerous ground game, but if you can catch somebody in a heel hook, that means you're brushed up on it enough to where you could finish a fight at any given moment. He's a guy that could be a force to be reckoned with. He's got a great team at American Top Team, obviously. Time will tell, but he's definitely a guy that I don't know a ton about. I think Grant Dawson coming in with his strength of schedule he's had recently, some of the finishes he's had that were pretty devastating, hammer fists, and then just kind of ground and pounding people until submission. I think he's got all the tools to be a future contender, and he's also very fun to watch. I think he's pretty good in every area of mixed martial arts, so I think he's got a bright future. I think Drew Dober has been a fan favorite for a very long time. It says a lot about a guy who's been in the UFC for this long, because it's not easy to stay in the UFC, especially, you know, fighting very, very tough guys at all times. When Drew Dober steps inside the octagon, people pay attention. You know, his last fight coming off of a win, so it'll be really good and very interesting to see where he can maybe finally hit his stride and break into the top 10. Yeah, Renato Moicano has fought a very tough strength of schedule, hasn't won all of them, obviously bouncing back between 45 and 55, even taking fights on short notice. You know, so he's a promoter's dream. He's the kind of guy who will say yes and step up and put on a show. And also coming off of a big win at Madison Square Garden. I think you might be seeing Moicano hit his second win here in the UFC, and it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I think Dan Hooker is one of my favorite fighters, like in and out of the octagon. You know, he's just a good dude. He's a family man. People like him. He's always shown up. He's always fought extremely hard, and he's very talented. You know, so it was great to see him, you know, put together a win. His last fight, I do think things can turn on a dime in this sport. You know, you lose, and all of a sudden you feel like you're the worst ever, and you're never coming back. Then you win a fight, you get reinvigorated, you really set your sights back on that title. And I think Dan Hooker, we could see a resurgence of Dan Hooker very soon. He's got all the talent in the world. I'm excited to see Dan put together some wins and stay inside that top 10. Jalen Turner is a scary dude for so many different reasons. He's a guy who is extremely long and extremely tall, extremely rangy, and he uses it very well. One thing that sticks out is we always talk about finishing your combinations with a kick or a knee. He does that extremely well. He'll throw a really great combination and finish with a kick, or he'll throw a really great combination in with the body shot. His ability to find the liver with his feet and with his left hand is second to none, and he can also submit you. If he takes you down, he literally does feel like a long tarantula on top of you with those big old long arms, and he'll choke you out. RDA has been a veteran and a mainstay in that lightweight and even welterweight division over the last decade now. You know, obviously he's a former lightweight champion. He's just so dang tough. He's just the kind of guy, he's like that old leather boot that's just so reliable, and you know you can throw it on and it can take you through any terrain. You know, he can fight a brand new, young, hungry guy, or he could fight a salty veteran and make light work of either of them. So a guy who's got the size and the power to fight at 170 but still fights at 155 is a dangerous guy. RDA, can't say enough awesome things about him. He will be a first ballot UFC Hall of Famer, and that's why we love to watch him fight. Yeah, Arman Tsarukyan, he's a guy inside the top 10 that's surging. You know, he's that guy who's vying for one of those fights to be able to break into that top, you know, 6, 7. Always looking to grapple, it looks like. You know, a lot of times great transitions, strong on the ground. Always looking for submission, but very basic on the feet, which is what you have to be when you're a really good grappler. You have to be very basic on the feet as to not overextend, and he does do a very good job when a guy does overextend with a punch or does overextend with a kick of transitioning into a takedown. I think Gamrot is another one of those guys who kind of surged into the top 10, is looking for one of those top 5 fights ASAP. He obviously dropped his last one to Beneil Dariush, but a lot of people have lost to Beneil Dariush. Gamrot's a very tough, very strong, very detailed grappler, wrestler, and I think he can get to a lot of guys, you know, almost anybody inside the top 10. So it'll be interesting to see what his future looks like. He's got all the talent in the world. He's just got to get that one fight that breaks him into that top 5. Rafael Fiziev is he's so dynamic. He is so good. I think obviously we get to watch him inside the octagon and we see the performances he puts on, and he also is very exciting. But I've gotten to train with him. When you watch a guy train and you see it in training and then you see it translate perfectly to his competition, it's really, really fun to watch. I think he's the most talented striker in all of the world, not just the UFC lightweight division. So he's a guy who we could see go out there, and I think he's matched up against Gaethje now. So that's going to be a really fun one, and I will be very interested to see who wins that one.
All right, and Michael Chandler, what do you think of him?
Michael Chandler, dude's living the dream, having a blast. Loves talking about all these guys that he may or may not fight, and I heard he's fighting Conor sometime this summer at 170. So we'll see how that fight goes.
What do you think these other guys would say about Mike Chandler?
Oh man, I think there'd be a lot of things that people would say about me. I think you'd find a very mixed bag of people who really like and respect me and love watching me fight and like the way that I carry myself and like how I've come into the UFC. Then there's a lot of people that would say almost the exact opposite. I think you realize coming into the UFC with a stage as big as and a platform as big as the UFC is, not everybody's gonna like you. But all you can do is be authentically yourself and keep on keeping on. And Beneil Dariush has been a mainstay in the lightweight division for a very, very long time. He's had a little bit of adversity coming back from that first round 20-second knockout loss, and then hasn't lost since. I mean, it just goes to show it's such a game of millimeters, and any given night you could win or lose, and it just turns out that Beneil Dariush hasn't lost in a very long time. He's stringing together wins against top opponents and top talent and top names that matter. He deserves to be up there, ranked up in the top of the division, and maybe even fight for a title very soon. And Justin Gaethje is, if he's not one of your favorite fighters, you don't like mixed martial arts. He's a guy who is exactly who he says he is. He shows up every single time. He's at times shown even more special wrinkles in his game, which just makes you like him even more because he's still evolving as a fighter. But when he needs to dig deep and turn it into a brawl and a dogfight, he does it better than most of us. So Justin Gaethje, heart of a champion, absolute stud, and truly kind of just a dude you want to go sit and have a beer with too. He's just a cool guy. Yeah, Dustin Poirier he's another one of those guys who has kind of a second lease on his MMA life. He hasn't been crazy consistent up until these last couple years, which is awesome to see his maturation, and now he's winning the majority of his fights. And I can tell you from competing against him, he's just consistent. He's good at mixed martial arts. He's very good in the striking department. He's stronger than you think he is. He's a better grappler than you think he is. So, man, it was an honor to compete against him. Any of the kind of back and forth, venom was just two guys trying to climb the same mountain. I think ultimately he's a good dude outside the octagon. And I would stand behind that, and I would put my name behind that. But so we'll see. Maybe we'll tussle in the future. We'll see. Charles Oliveira, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of sad that he doesn't have the C next to his name. That he's not our champion anymore. Because it's kind of crazy that, it was such a feel-good story. Because Charles Oliveira was not reliable. He was losing fights that he shouldn't have lost. He was missing weight. He was that guy. You're like, I'm not quite sure if Charles Oliveira is that guy. And then he matured a little bit, and he strung together some wins, and he was doing well and finishing guys and just being so dominant. So it was really cool to see. I think Oliveira will definitely fight for the title again, in the near future. Islam came in and proved that he is who he said he was. For a while, all of us giving him so much credit for the strength of schedule that he had. He didn't deserve to be kind of put in that position yet, but going out there, finishing Charles Oliveira, finishing Dan Hooker, I think before that he proved that he's our champion, and we all need to accept it, and he's very good. We're going to watch him defend the title. I do think I would love to be able to test my wrestling, my American wrestling against his Dagestani grappling, but I need to string together some wins and prove that I deserve to be in that position. But him as a fighter, him as our champion, I'm excited to see the wins that he strings together, because I do think he'll string together quite a few.